Welcome to NEHMTECH. This is lesson 5 on Python, and we are going to talk about the conditional statements. And before we begin, please subscribe, like, and share it to your friends. And if you want to find the previous classes, then you can just go to the YouTube and then search for the NEHMTECH. Then I go to the playlist, and then I find the data science playlist. So here you are going to have all the classes from chapter 1 all the way to the end. So I've arranged such that the oldest video is the first one, and then the latest is the one here, the listen. In fact, it has chapters here. You can see part 1, part 2, part 3. So you won't be like it is chronological, so it will be much better for you. So today we are going to talk about the conditional statements, and the last time we introduced the booleans, and I told you that the booleans values are used to check if a statement is true or not, true or false. Like for example, let's try for example, when we say print 100 equals to 100. Remember, now when you want to equate something in Python, you have to use two equal operators. So when you use single, it means you are assigning, but if you want to equate, you use two equal operators. So when you say 100 equals to 100, basically the output is going to be true because the statement is true. Now if you say not equal, you'll use them not equal, you use the exclamation then equal, then statement is going to be false. But we shall talk about the operators perhaps in the next two classes here. I think next in the next class I'll talk about the loops, and then later we shall talk about operators, and then we shall proceed with the data types. So these are Boolean values. It returns only true or false statements. But now, so basically in Python, it supports the usual usual logical conditions from the mathematics, like for example, equal, not equal, less than, greater than or equal to, and so forth. So I want us to talk about some conditional statement. And we are going to begin with an if statement. So basically, like apart from displaying like it this way, you can do something which is somehow descriptive and makes sense other than getting the default true or false. You might want, like for example, if in the event condition is true, what will be executed, and if not, what will happen, like what will take place. And these conditions are very useful. Like for example, when you go to web, like for example, let's assume that you have a website that people signs or registers, and for example, if the credentials they are adding is not correct, you'll see it will display here a message that the password is incorrect, or maybe the login credentials are not true. And even the credentials are true, you'll see that the user signs in. So you can see it applies everywhere literally. So the conditions can be used in several ways. Most commonly, we are using the if statements, and also we shall talk about the loops later. So if statements, it is written with the if keyword. If keyword. Let me change here to if conditional statements. The conditional statements, and then here we are beginning with the if. Let's assume that A is 20, then B is, let me zoom in, and then B is 30. So we'll say if for example A is less than B, if A is less than B, then we can say print. Remember, now we are having the indentation after the if statement. Like at the end of the if statement, you add in the colon, then ensure that you have here a space. If you're using the notebook, when you just hit enter here, then it's going to automatically create here the indentation space. If it doesn't create, click tab, then it's going to create that 4 spaces here. So ensure that whenever you are having the if statement, at the end you add in the colon, then the next line should have the indentation block there. Unless you're using the else statement, that's when you begin in a new line, or maybe you are done with the if statement. That's when you can now begin in a new line. So for example, if A is less than B, then we can say print something like let's say A is greater, A is less than B. A is less than B. And then when you run, you'll see that A is less than B. But now when we change the operator here to be greater than, you'll see that nothing will happen. So when nothing is happening, or maybe when the condition is not met, or maybe when the condition is incorrect, that's when you can now introduce something called the else statement. The else statement. First of all, let me try to explain first of all the importance of having the indentation. You can see when I remove the indentation here, I get the error here that expected an indentation block after the if statement. So it is a must. So you need to add in there the indentation block. You just click tab, then it's going to create the indentation block for you. And then now before I talk about the else if, perhaps you have several conditions that you want to execute. Perhaps, for example, you want to check first of all if A is greater than B, and then another statement to check if let's assume that we have at least 3 conditions. So when you want to introduce another condition that you're checking the truthful of that statement, you use the elif. So the elif is like, for example, if the first condition is not met, then it's going to check the other condition if it's true. If it's true, remember if and also the elif is going to check on the positive side, or maybe the true part of your statement. So here you'll say, for example, if, and I will say elif. This is for else if. Elif in Python is called the elif, but in other languages they usually use else if. So let me say elif. Elif, for example, A is less than B. A is less than B, then print so here A is greater, let me say greater than B, and then here let's say A is less than B. So the first condition here on the if A is greater than B, we are going to print A is greater than B. So when A is greater than B, this is the statement that's going to be executed. This is the output that you are going to get. But in the event A is not greater than B, then this statement is going to be false. So it won't be executed. So it's going to check another condition here on the elif. So whenever A is less than B, then it's going to execute A is less than B. So let's try to run. Now you can see A is less than B because A is 20, that is 200. So it's executing this statement, and that this one is not executing because A is not greater than B. But now when I change here to 200, then it's going to capture this statement like A is greater than B because truly A is greater than B. So it's going to print out this first statement. So you can see now instead of using your default true or false, now we are using something descriptive. Now we can as well introduce another statement in the event, for example, they are not equal. Like for example, when I say here 200, A to be 200, B also to be 200, you can see A is neither greater than B nor smaller than or less than B. So when I run, nothing is going to happen. So this is where now you can introduce an else statement. Else. So basically the else keyword usually capture in the event this is going to check first of all the positive part or the true side of the statement, these conditions. Like I remember I told you, if and elif is going to check on if the statement is true or not. It's going to check if the statement is true. So if it's not true, then else is going to capture. So here we are going to say else will print, like in the event A is not A is not greater than B, or A is not less than B, then it's going to capture A is equal to B, to B. So this is the statement that's going to capture in the event A is not greater than B, nor A is not less than B, and then it's going to capture is equals to B. So this is the statement that is going to capture. So when you change here a bit, then it's going to capture anything that has, for example, when you increase, then you can see A is less than B. When you reduce, it's going to capture equal, and then when you increase the first one, it's going to capture greater than. So I believe now you understand how these things work, and I've just used here a simple example or a basic example to illustrate how the conditional statements work. But you can as well have a lot of statements, or maybe you can even introduce a function in the event the true is like a statement is true. You can have a function to execute. But now, because this is just an intro, I don't want to go into the functions, but you get the basic idea on how the conditional statements work. Now you can as well have a shorthand if. Now, in the event you just want, for example, if you only have a statement that's only going to check if the statement is greater than or not, you can have a shorthand. For example, let's say if A is greater than B, Now, instead of having several lines, you can simply say print A. Print A is greater than B. So here we've just utilized one line. So it's going to capture that statement. So this is what we call the shorthand. If you only have one statement to execute, you can put it in the same line, and this one makes your code much more like you can have few lines of code. And then also you can have an else statement in the event like you want to check two statements, for example, true or false, or for example, let's have here x to be, for example, 5, and then y to be 10. You can simply say print for example, print A is less than B, if, remember I'm using in the same line, if A is less than B. Otherwise, you can introduce now the else in the same line, else print A is greater than, no, I should have used x, x I should have used x, y. So this statement is going to capture all the event. Like for example, if we introduce here 50, it will capture the other way around, and if you introduce the other one, you increase the other one, then it's going to capture. No, I should have changed x is less than y. X is less than y if sorry, here I should have also used x and y. So it's going to capture x is less than y. X is less than y, and because x is, you can see here, x is 50, 100 is y is 100. But now if I introduce here, then it's going to capture the other statement. So you can as well use what a shorthand if else in the same line. So if you only have one statement to execute, one for if and also one for else, you can put it all at the same line instead of having like a bunch of lines there. So basically, this technique is known as ternary operators, or maybe conditional expressions. All this stuff that we've talked about, and then you can as well talk about introduce. You can as well have the. Though we haven't talked about the operators, but I think I'll talk about it. So operators is used, for example, if you want to check the two statements of, like for example, let's say you want to check two conditions. You have two conditions. You want to check both of the conditions. First of all, you can use the AND operator. AND operator is going to check if all of the conditions are true. That's when it's going to execute. And if not, then it won't execute. And then I will also have another one called OR. Now the OR statement, this one is going to check if one of them is correct. If one of them is correct, it's going to execute. If neither of them is correct, that's when it will capture an error, or it will fall under the else statement. But I don't want to go into details on this because we shall talk about the operators. I don't want to make it complicated for you. So guys, basically this is in a nutshell about the conditional statements. Remember, we will be incorporating other things as in this series, so you'll understand it more. At the moment, just master what I've taught you today, and then as we go on, we shall learn more on the same. So in our next class, I'll talk about the loops. Then we shall talk about the operators. Then we shall now proceed with the data types. When in the data types, we shall talk about the list, tuples, dictionary set, and so forth. At the moment, just master this one. And guys, please consider subscribing, like, and share it to other people so that they too may also learn a skill that you are learning. Until next time, this is Nehemiah. Goodbye.